Hello and welcome to my channel, and today we are going to talk about non-recommendations. So one of my friends the other day, actually a couple weeks ago, had asked me for some book recommendations. He told me what him and his girlfriend like to read, and I pretty much wrote them a novel. And one of the books I included in there, I was thinking, do I necessarily want to recommend this to someone? And it got me thinking, what are the books that I read that I have enjoyed that I would not necessarily recommend to other people? So that's what we're talking about today. I've got a stack of books here of books that I have either liked or loved, but wouldn't necessarily want to recommend to you for one reason or another. And we're gonna start with one of my favorite young adult books that I have read 3 times already, and that is Wax by Gina D'Amico. This is one of those books. First of all, let me tell you what it's about. We follow Poppy, who has had a very embarrassing experience. She was on stage giving a theater performance when she fell, and it was just a whole bloody mess. And people in her town, especially this one boy, has started picking on her about it. And she ends up making her way into this wax factory where she talks to this mysterious, strange woman, and then the next thing she knows, there's a wax figure come to life in her trunk, in the trunk of her car. And we take off from there, where she finds out her town might be even more sinister than she thought. I loved this when I first read it. I have loved this every time that I've read it since. I don't know if other people would. I will say the writing is not necessarily outstanding. It is very juvenile. I would say it's even more on the younger side of young adult. To me, it is very fun and lighthearted, and that's what I love going into it. It doesn't really take itself very seriously, but I wouldn't want somebody to read this off of my recommendation because of how much I love it, and them think this book isn't as good as she says. What is she talking about? The next one is Kaiju Preservation Society. This is one that I really liked because this is what I know this isn't necessarily a fair comparison, but I tried reading Jurassic Park, and I know a lot of people loved that book, loved the movie, everything. I tried reading it, didn't really get anything from it. I feel like this is what I wanted Jurassic Park to be, even though they also kind of have similar vibes. The reason I wouldn't necessarily recommend this is because it is very slow. There is not a lot of plot. It really is just about kaiju preservation. We follow this character Jamie, who is stuck in a dead-end job and ends up meeting this guy who talks them into helping out with kaiju preservation in a whole other world, a whole other society. And it sounds really exciting and fun. I wouldn't say it is, but I really enjoyed this when I read it. I went in not expecting very much, expecting not to like it very much, and I ended up very much enjoying it. It's purely vibes, it's purely character based. You get to know the kaiju and all of that, and I think this is the perfect book for me. Do I think everybody is going to love it, especially considering the fact that I just compared it to Jurassic Park? Probably not. The next one is one of my childhood favorites. Actually, I adored this whole series when I was younger. It was the first series, it was the first series to really get me into reading, and it has stuck with me into adulthood. But I can acknowledge our main character is a brat. That of course is the Junie B. Jones series. I'm currently reading them now as a 25, almost 26-year-old with my fiance, and making them endure the pain that is Junie B. Jones. Would I recommend this to kids or adults in general nowadays? No. It does not hold up. She is very bratty. She makes it very well known what she thinks. I wouldn't necessarily... I read this when I was a kid and I turned out okay. Would I necessarily want kids today to read this, knowing how much of a brat she is, knowing how much she can influence you with her bratty ways? Probably not. But that doesn't stop from the fact that I loved these books growing up, and I still love them now. They make me laugh. They are super fun and funny. I don't necessarily agree that these books would be great to pass along to the next generation. This next one was one that I wasn't sure if I should put in this video, because I'm not even sure how I feel about it. I did like it a lot, but it wasn't necessarily one of my favorites, and it does have me debating on whether or not I should reread it, but that is Imaginary Corpse. I think this one takes, so first of all, this one follows, what's his name, Tippy. He is a tiny Triceratops plush who solves mysteries, and that made me fall in love immediately. So I did really enjoy it. I think when read the correct way or interpreted the correct way, this is a book that definitely talks a lot about mental health, and it can get very dark very quickly. I did enjoy this. I don't think I necessarily loved it, but I think it takes kind of more of a deep dive to really get those themes, to really understand the point that this book is trying to get across. And like talking about it now, I do think I want to reread it, because it is a very good book. It drags on a little bit too long, and I think the writing in it is pretty small, so it takes a lot longer to get through. But also like the fact that Tippy is a Triceratops plushie. Not everybody is going to want to read this. It does have a little bit more of a whimsical vibe, and I know some people are more logical thinkers, so I wouldn't recommend this to you if you are trying to gauge why a Triceratops plush is solving mysteries or something like that. But I did really enjoy it. The next one I don't have a physical copy of, because I ended up unhauling it when I realized, I'll talk about that in a second. I ended up unhauling it, and that is Catching Stars. This is a book that I got in, I think it was an Owl Crate book box quite a few years ago, and I loved it. It was a 5 out of 5 star. It was fun. I loved it so much. I don't remember the exact plot of it right now, but I know that I loved it. But the way that it ended off, I remember this specifically, and I remember venting to Benson about it right afterwards. I was so mad because it ended on a cliffhanger, and I have followed the author on so many different sites. I have looked so many different places, and I can't find a sequel or any plans of a sequel. So no, I would not recommend this book, because I was in pain with the way that it ended. I was so mad. I think I was more mad about this book than I have been about Game of Thrones, and I read all 5 of those books, and I am still waiting for Winds of Winter. I was so mad. So no, I would not recommend this book, because I want a sequel, and I don't think I am ever getting a sequel. And then I have Manfred the Man. This is one, so it basically takes place in a world where cats are the human figures, and man and women are the cat figures. And I don't think I would recommend this, because it's funny, and I very much enjoyed it, and I thought it was a fun read. Do I think it is a little inappropriate for certain age groups? Absolutely. And the way that it's drawn, you see a lot of the human cats aren't necessarily clothed, so I don't think I would necessarily recommend this, mainly because people might think my reading tastes are weird, and I have never said that my reading tastes are normal, but this book just might keep people away from my channel if I were recommending it all the time. And then we have Dead Girls. I really enjoyed this when I was reading it, mainly because I am a sucker for anything set in the 1920s. I don't know what it is about that time period, but I love the vibes. I love the fact that it's fun and flashy, and I don't know, I loved it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to anybody who loves mysteries, or anyone who's not new to mysteries, I should say. Like, if you're well seasoned and you love a good mystery, I don't think this is necessarily for you, mainly because it is very obvious who our killer is from the very beginning. As me as someone who, I love a good mystery, but I haven't really delved into a lot of mystery thriller books like this. It was even very obvious to me, so I don't think I would say that this is a good mystery thriller to read if you're well seasoned. Maybe if you're just starting out and trying to branch out into a fun, unique mystery, absolutely check this out. I also felt the same way about the sequel of this book. I think the whole series, I don't think the third one is out yet, but I think the whole series as a whole is very good if you're starting out and starting to branch into the mystery thriller genre. And then we have 8 Perfect Murders. This one follows an author who receives, or I don't remember if he's an author or if he just wrote a blog post, but he writes a blog post about the 8 perfect literary murders and why they were perfect. And then he realizes that somebody is imitating the murders on his list to figure out if it's actually accurate. Now, the reason that I would not recommend this, I can't really tell you because it is a very big spoiler, but there are so many trigger warnings and content warnings that this book should have that I don't think they did. So if for any reason you feel the need to pick up this book, it was my first Peter Swanson and I did very much enjoy it. So intrigued. It was the first ebook that I read all the way through. I loved this book, but it is very heavy. It is very hard to read, especially when you get to the ending. So please look up content warnings. Be aware they are a major spoiler for the later half of the book. And lastly, the book that inspired this entire video, The Night Circus. The Night Circus is my favorite book of all time, and when you read the synopsis, you probably think it is a lot more entertaining or a lot more action-packed, I should say, than it actually is. So we follow Celia and Marco, who are these young wizards. They can do magic. They've been training to do magic for a very long time, and they are kind of enrolled into this game without knowing that they are. They don't know anything about it. They don't know the stakes. They don't know what happened. They don't know or how to participate in this game. They know nothing. And then they start to fall in love, and without their knowing, it could lead to dire consequences. That all sounds like it is an action-packed game. It is going to be so fun, and there's going to be so many plot twists and action, and it's not like that at all. I loved this book because the circus is very much a character in this book. I love anything involving the circus in general. So reading this, I thought it was stunning and incredible. And this is the first time that I have looked at a book and thought these words, the way that they are written, are beautiful, are gorgeous. I loved it. It really transports you into the circus, and it makes you fall in love with these characters. And I feel like I'm explaining this kind of not the best, but it's not for everybody. If you don't like slow, character-based, flowery writing, things like that, then you're not gonna like this. And I know the opinions on this book in general are very hit or miss. You either love it or you hate it. And that is why I don't want anybody to see this as my favorite book and take my recommendation on it, because there is a high chance that you are not going to like it. And those are all of the books that I have very much enjoyed but wouldn't necessarily recommend to other people. What are some of yours? Please let me know down in the comments below so I can keep an eye out for those, because we might have the same taste. Be sure to hit that like button if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who's a frequent member on this channel. I'll leave all of those links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. But until then, bye!